What's going on, guys? It's Garrett here without my partner in crime, Chandler David Smith. Chandler got promoted to VP of Sales at Aptive, and so he has just been crazy busy with work. So I figured I would help him out and try and make a video for the channel today and say hello to you all. Today we're going to be talking about long-term rentals versus vacation rentals and the pros and cons of each and what you should buy. With all that said, let's jump into it. We've got to load up some couches and things, and I'm headed up to Ashton to drop them all off to the Airbnb. But here's one of the things I wanted to talk about with an Airbnb. There's so much stuff that you wouldn't think about that you need just a ton of. This is like $500 worth of pillows that I had to buy for this stinking Airbnb. So also, I just noticed I did not actually hook my trailer up to the hitch, so that could have been bad. Word to the wise, always make sure your trailer's actually hooked up before you drive off. This is what real American muscle looks like. It's not quite as flashy as that Italian Ferrari Chandler likes to rock it around on, but it gets the job done. One of the other things I figured I'd show the YouTube community is my fish tank. I'm quite proud of it. So most of you guys know my brother Ryan, or you may have seen him on a video or two. He just got back from his 4th summer selling pest control. While he was out there, Chandler and I made a video about a duplex that Ryan was buying, and so today's the day that Ryan signs his life away in.
I close in like an hour.
Closes on another duplex. I roped him into helping me move some couches first, but how many doors does this make for you, Ryan? Is that 9?
That'll put me at number 9.
Jeez.
Yeah, numbers 8 and 9.
24 years old and single lady, or people with sisters. We're hauling all these couches up to Ashton for this vacation rental we'll set up, and that kind of hits on the first point of vacation rentals versus long-term rentals. Long-term rentals, if you have a property manager, you kind of just let him do his thing and you never have to worry about it. It's really hands-off. You can be very passively involved. And even if you don't have a property manager, it's usually like once or twice a month you hear from the tenant, and it's pretty passive. Vacation rentals is extremely hands-on. You have to get all the furniture, you have to make sure the utilities are set up and working perfectly, you have to decorate, you have to clean after each and every guest, you have to respond to people. My wife kind of runs our Airbnbs, or one of them at least, and she'll run this one as well. And she's getting messages, you know, 2-3 times a day most of the time, of people asking questions or checking in or wondering, you know, what the good restaurants in town are. And so I guess that's depending on what you want. For me, I like to be very passive with real estate. So that's a con, is that Airbnbs are super, super involved. Trade-off for being more actively involved is vacation rentals have a huge upside when it comes to profit potential. You hear about guys making a, 300, 400, 500% return on their money with vacation rentals just because of how much you can get out of the nightly rent versus a normal long-term rental and the monthly rent. That's a pro with vacation rentals, is you can make a ton of money if you find the right one and if you leverage everything correctly. I think one thing I would add in there, this kind of goes along with it, your risk goes way up with a vacation rental. If something happens and your place doesn't get booked out at all, like the pandemic last year, that had a lot of people with vacation rentals really, really worried, because initially everybody stopped going everywhere, and that's crazy. Whereas with long-term rentals, you already have a tenant in there and supposedly they'll continue to pay their rent. Unless you're buying in an area that's like exclusively vacation rentals, like clearly a vacation spot. Like a lot of people have vacation rentals in Idaho Falls, and I'm trying to buy one myself right now. Try and buy something that if it doesn't do well on Airbnb, you can transition it into a long-term rental and still at least cover your bases and make some money. So that's always one of my goals. And this property up in Ashton that I was going to use as an example, I'll show what it would look like as just a normal long-term rental as well. So that brings me to another very obvious pro with vacation rentals, is it gives you a sweet place to stay with your family. That was one of the things that got me into vacation rentals is, man, when you have an off weekend, you take the wife and kids up there and your ugly little brother and go have a great time. We get a lot of use out of our vacation rentals because of that, especially during not peak season. I try and rent them pretty exclusively during like their peak months because it is an investment property. But when it's off season, man, you can use it and there's nothing better. It's different than staying in a random vacation rental as well because you own it. So you kind of take like some pride in it when you bring people to it. You really just, you see it a lot more than your long-term rentals, and it's like a good looking property, whereas a lot of the long-term rentals are, you know, kind of that B- C+ range. So I don't know, there's a different feeling when you take ownership in it like that. It feels different and it's rewarding. As I think about it, I guess one more con that kind of comes to mind, or it could be a pro, is vacation rentals are a new thing. It's only been around for the last few years, whereas people have been renting normal property for hundreds and thousands of years, and it's a business model that lasts and it's a business model that works. So vacation rentals can really fluctuate with the market, and certain cities or HOAs will come in and completely shut them down and say, hey, no more vacation rentals here. And at that point, you're kind of just out of luck. And that's why that goes in line with my like whole, it can be riskier, and make sure that you're buying a place that, you know, worst case scenario, you can either sell it and get out of it or rent it out as a long-term rental and still do all right. You just want to be careful with those things. Sit. Bang. Come here. Come here. Good boy. Okay. So for this segment of the video, you guys will have to forgive me. Hey, get out of here. You guys will have to forgive me. I'm kind of new to this whole YouTube thing, so I'm not as professional as Chandler, but hopefully it's still an okay video. But I figured I would talk about kind of the numbers side of things and show you guys some examples, and then also give some funny stories with different people that have vacation rented from us, and maybe show a couple dumb reviews. And that's one of the big things too, with like I say, with long-term management properties or long-term rentals, the property manager just does everything, and they usually charge like a 10% management fee. I've seen it go as low as, you know, 6 or 7%, and as high as 12 or 15%, depending on what all they do and probably what market you're in. I think a pretty standard price is like 8 to 10%. Vacation rentals, I've seen people offer to manage for as cheap as 15%. And I've seen people pay as much as 50 or even 60% to their property manager. And so there's a huge spectrum there that you want to understand and look into before you buy a vacation rental, because that can take a huge, whoa! That can take a huge chunk of your profit, obviously. And just for reference sakes, I own 2 active vacation rentals, and then this one that we're currently setting up for. And the last video that I made with Chandler, the trailer is actually full of stuff as well. This is like our 7th trip up there with crap, so we're almost set up. There's a lot of extra stuff like that that goes into a vacation rental, and you just want to make sure that you're comfortable with the numbers, and that you know, like, hey, you know, this property looks amazing, but if I have to hire a property manager, what is that going to look like? Am I okay, you know, paying someone a huge chunk of my profit, or am I always going to figure out a way to do it myself? Hey, buddy. Because that's another thing. It really is. It's like almost a full-time job, even just managing a couple of them. So are you going to be okay managing that yourself to collect on the majority of profits, or are you going to hire someone? And when you hire someone, because that's the only way you can scale a business is by hiring people. You can't manage 100 vacation rentals by yourself, or even probably realistically 10 or 15, unless that's your full-time thing. And so do the numbers still work with a property manager in the role? Do you know a property manager that can take over? Do you know someone who can help with different things when something goes wrong? Like, that's another thing for us. We live an hour to an hour and a half away from all these properties. So the other day the toilet wouldn't flush, And it's like, man, I don't want to drive up, you know, an hour and a half away to go freaking plunge a toilet. Like, do I have a handyman who lives close that can help me with those kinds of things? So all of that stuff comes into play with vacation rentals. Any of you watching this video, stay out of Ashton. That's my market, but it's right on the way to Island Park. It's about a half hour from Island Park, 25 minutes. And then it's about an hour from West Yellowstone, which is obviously one of the biggest tourist destinations in the United States. People come from all over to see Yellowstone and Old Faithful. So I didn't do as much research as I probably should. There are websites and places that you can look up to see where your particular market or desired market ranks in respect to other markets, but I just kind of knew, because I'm a local, I knew it would be a good place. It's right on the way. It's just off of I-15. So when I bought it, there was crazy amounts of snow, and I think because of that, the market really slowed down up there. So I picked this beauty up off of the MLS at $135,000, which is a screaming deal. This summer, the property next door sold for $350,000. The property next door is bigger for sure, but is it twice as big and twice as nice? I don't think so. So I think I could probably sell this for $275 right now, $250, which is crazy. The market in Idaho has just gone nuts. And it's kind of hard as a local to see, because people in Ashton can't afford to live like that, like the people that are local. And I was actually talking to a gal up there at a restaurant last time we were up there, and she didn't know that I owned a vacation rental, but I was like, hey, how do the locals feel about all the tourism? Like, what's the vibe? And she goes, oh, I mean, some of us like it. It's kind of fun. And for a lot of people, it's really hard. She goes, not very many people live here anymore, because every property that hits the market, someone buys and turns into a vacation rental. And so I just kind of kept my lips sealed and said, oh, those darn real estate investors. But it's been a killer vacation rental. But I bought this thing for $135,000. So my mortgage on this is like $602 a month. So I knew, you know, hey, I'm gonna try this vacation rental all summer long. I committed to it. But I knew, hey, if this doesn't go well, I can probably rent this place out for $800 or $900 a month to someone just needing to live in that area. So I knew I'd be safe, I knew I'd be good, and I was really, really excited about it. And we tried to buy as much of the previous owner's furniture as they would let us. And that's one of my tips for you if you're wanting to get into an Airbnb. Offer to buy or try and buy the previous owner's furniture. If it looks good. If it doesn't look good, obviously don't buy it. But a lot of the times people are just wanting to get out of stuff, or they don't want to move, and they'll sell it to you at a really discounted price. So I paid $500 and I picked up the bunk beds, I picked up the table, I picked up a bunch of chairs. And so I didn't have to furnish this place nearly as much. We had to buy the couches, we had to buy the rug. I already owned the TV, that's just from my house. I had to buy the king size bed, and obviously the furnishings that way. So, you know, all in all, less than, you know, probably a couple $1,000s, and this place was ready to go. So just to clarify as well, this is the vacation rental that my wife and I own together. And so the one I just bought is also in Ashton. This one went so well that I wanted to try a bigger one. And the one that I just bought is closer to like 3,500 square feet, and it's gonna be a big vacation rental. So that one's another new adventure that I've never tried, and it's obviously a bigger risk because I've had to put a substantial amount of money into furnishing it. So we'll see how that one goes. But this new one I'm excited to use for my family adventures as well. The biggest differences between this one that we own and the one that we just bought is just the size and the demographic. This one that we've been running, you mostly cater to travelers that, like I say, you know, they flew into Idaho Falls or Salt Lake and they're driving up to Yellowstone. And there's not a whole lot of places to stay up there, and it gets really expensive. So they book our rental in Ashton and they stay an hour away from it, and they drive to Yellowstone every day. So it's kind of just a place to stay, and it's nice, it's accommodating, but it's not like they went on vacation to stay in this rental. They went on vacation to go drive through Yellowstone every day. This one that we just bought, that we're putting all this furniture in, is more of like a vacation spot. Like, hey, bring Susan and her kids and me and my family, and we're gonna go up and do some sightseeing and probably go to Yellowstone, but we're gonna hang out at the cabin a lot and have a lot of fun. With vacation rentals, it can really fluctuate. So, you know, during the summer months, you might get a check for $7,000 or $8,000 every month. But then if you don't do something different in the winter, you might have to make your entire mortgage payment 3 months in a row. And so, or if it's a winter market, maybe you bought a vacation rental by a ski resort, maybe you'll have to make that payment a lot during the summer. So make sure that you have good reserves in order to protect yourself from that liability. I know that's an area that a lot of people can get into trouble with. So this is our earnings. So far we've been paid $14,868 from this property. And like I say, we really started booking it out in May. In August, I got $4,446 paid out. And like I say, my mortgage is only $602. So that's a fantastic return. September, we still have a couple bookings left to be paid out. And then obviously October, it's gonna really die down. And we're gonna end up just doing a long-term rental for the next 3 or 4 months. And then we'll start vacation renting it out again in April. And like I say, when we started booking this thing out in May of this last year, we were only charging $95 a night. In August, we started charging like $150 to $175, but a lot of these dates had already been booked out at the $95 a night. So next year, I honestly think that I can get, realistically, I think I can get $23,000 or $24,000 out of, the end of April through beginning of October months. If we pull up the CDS rental calculator. So I'm getting a 43% cash on cash return, and I'm at a 15.22% cap rate. My total ROI, when you factor in principal pay down and debt service, all that stuff, I'm getting a 48.35% return. So pretty darn good. And like I say, next year, I honestly think I can push that up over, 75% or maybe even more than that. Just depending on how well the vacation rental does. So yeah, just to kind of wrap it up, again, we're getting almost a 43% cash on cash return here. But like I say, the trade-off is we've had to put in way more work. And I'll show some reviews that kind of illustrate that, but it is a lot more work to manage a vacation rental than to just have a long-term rental that you maybe make a 10% cash on cash return. Would I buy another vacation rental? Yes. In fact, I intend to buy several more. I think that's kind of where I want to spend some of my capital in the coming year or two. Okay, so one of the funniest parts about owning an Airbnb is seeing the reviews that come in. And most people are fairly considerate with the public review that they leave, but then you can leave like a private review that just the host sees. And some people just say really interesting things, and a lot of it, and if you're watching this video and you fit into this category, is the boomer generation, like the older people who are probably used to staying in Marriotts and Hiltons, and they come and stay in Ashton, Idaho, where nothing is 5-star. Here's a review where the person says, "Thank you for everything, we had a great time, nice home, and thank you again. One suggestion, maybe put a hook outside the shower for towels. That way our guests won't have to leave a towel, or your guests won't have to leave a towel on the toilet seat. The hook on the door was just a couple steps away." And they took off a star for that. Like, they removed a star because our shower towel hook was on the door 1 step away. I mean, that's good advice, but don't take a star away. This is my business. This is my lifeblood. Here's another one, and this one honestly probably takes the cake. He only gave us 3 stars, which, man, if you go stay in an Airbnb, be generous with people unless they really screw up, because most Airbnb hosts really try. People are just crazy. This person, their public review says, "This cottage needs some TLC and more thought needs to go into beds, furniture, and amenities." And then in the private note, they say, and this is definitely a boomer, "I would suggest that you take 2 days and stay at your cottage. It is lacking so many things. Bedside tables, coffee tables, plugs to plug in chargers, plates that are not chipped." Our plates aren't chipped. "Room to get around the bed, and a place to put suitcases, etc. This place just needs a lot of work." Okay, we have a huge laundry room that has nothing in it. That's a good place to put suitcases. And then he says, "Just FYI, we evacuated the cottage at 3 a.m. on Tuesday because the house across the street was fully engulfed in flames and the cottage was filling in smoke. I pray no one died in the fire." And he left us a bad review. I'm like, man, brother, I am sorry that you didn't want to put your suitcases in our laundry room and that we didn't have enough coffee tables at the house for you. So smash the like button, like and subscribe. That way Chandler will know that, you know, even though he wasn't on the video, you guys are still supporting him. That's important to him. Also, I am in no way an expert on vacation rentals. This is a work in progress. So if any of you are experts or have advice, please maybe comment some stuff or shoot me a message, and I'm always hoping to learn something new. So thanks, guys.